On this episode of Postcards.
I'm out on the water every day in the summer, I guess, with my parents or with my friends.
I hope it to be a place where people can come and learn about the Sperry's, but also learn about the past.
This is the perfect intersection with art and nature with art.
This program on Pioneer Public Television is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008. Additional support provided by Mark and Margaret Yakel-Julien in honor of Shalom Hill Farm, a nonprofit rural education retreat center in a beautiful prairie setting near Windham in southwestern Minnesota. ShalomHillFarm.org. Live Wide Open, a regional movement that encourages people to make a great life for themselves in west central Minnesota. More at livewideopen.com. Alexandria, Minnesota, a year-round destination with hundreds of lakes, trails, and attractions for memorable vacations and events. More information at explorealex.com.
I'm Frankie Jost, and I am a wake surfer. And I travel around the country, going to contests and events and stuff like that. I surf almost every day in the summer. I'm out on the water every day in the summer, I guess, with my parents or with my friends. It's a good time. I started wake surfing when I was around 5 or 6, and it just went from there. I started out on a wake skate on a long rope, and then as I got my balance more, they pulled me closer, and then my dad taught me how. My dad used to be a pro snowboarder, and so he was really into all the board sports. And he's really into the water too. So we were always out on the water when I was little, and he was wake surfing and wakeboarding, and he just got me into it.
Well, the way we got into wake surfing and got the whole family involved was that, Jamie and I met in the summer, and we spent all of our time together in the boat, as much as we could anyway. And then once we got married and had Frankie coming along, it was like just a natural, just kind of stream of things, you know? Always loved it. Could not get that girl off the board. She'd go around the lake 19 times, for hours before she would agree to get enough.
Growing up in Alexandria is a lot of fun when you love the lake because there's so many lakes here. and the summers here are really nice, and so you just get to be out on the lake every day with your friends, and it's really awesome. The lakes are definitely my favorite part about Alice. My parents bought the Lake Carlos Marina this April, and they've been working at that this summer ever since, and they really like it, and it's a lot of fun for me because I get to be on the water every day, and it's fun for my parents because they love just everything to do with the lake and helping people get out on the lake and stuff like that. I think wake surfing is important to Minnesota culture because it helps people see a new perspective of the lake, and it gives them more drive to get out on the lakes, and it shows them what fun that they can have in Minnesota.
Ella, like when she shoves, it's like you're shoving, but like she goes like this, and then like tries to bring it back.
When I practice, I usually surf with either just my dad or with my friend Cole Sorensen. And then we just go out and each do our competition run, which we time ourselves. So a competition run is usually about 2 minutes. So you can practice a 1 minute run one way and then a 1 minute run the next way. And you just get as many tricks as you can in there. And that's how we practice for contests. We just try and make it the most like the same environment that we're going to be surfing in at that time. And we just learn new tricks together, and Cole and my dad are really good at teaching me new tricks, and they're patient. Cole is also doing really, really well this year. He won Worlds last year, and then this year he's been doing great too. He's gotten a lot of first places. My dad used to compete, but he quit because they started their own business, Hang Loose Minnesota, and that teaches people how to wake surf and paddleboard, and that got really busy, so he didn't really have time anymore, and now they have the marina, so even more of his time is taken up, so he just coaches me and helps other people. Wake surfing has brought me a lot of friends, and it's brought me to a lot of cool places. I get to travel all summer to go to different contests, and that's definitely one of my favorite things to do with wake surfing because you make friends at these contests and then you get to see them every year when you go back, so that's really, really cool. And it's like you were never gone, you're just good friends pick up at the contest. And my friends here, even in my hometown, wake surfing is just a fun way for us to hang out. We get to do it all the time together. It's really fun. We teach each other new things. We just have fun, like going doubles or whatever you can figure out to do. We just make stuff up as we go. It's a good time.
The board sports in Minnesota on the water are really a great part of our community and our traditions in Minnesota. When we're on the water, we're not worried about anything else. No, we're not worried about the next appointment or the next bill or the next homework. We're just thinking about the lake and what we're gonna be doing.
Have an idea for postcards? Send your story suggestions to postcards@pioneer.org.
This is the Sperry House, and it was built in 1893 by Albert and Jenny Sperry, and they are lifelong residents of Willmar. The significance of the Sperry House to the town of Willmar and Candiac County, it's a testament to the settlers and the first people who came to settle in Candiac County and Willmar. They were the only house on this side of the railroad tracks, on the north side. It was all underdeveloped, so it was a farm when it first started out. He had a business downtown, he had a meat market, then he went into farm implementary, then he went into corn drying and corn seed development, and he was always trying to do something next for progress and to how to make things better and get things to people easier and make things more efficient. I mean, he was always thinking of different things to do. In Willmar in the 1890s to 1900, when they first built the house, the bridge wasn't built across the railroad yet, so that would have been a trick to get across the railroad. So you would have to wait for the trains to get across and then run quick across. And that was built during that time, and that was a wooden structure that came over right on the end of Puerto Rico, and that was the only way to get across. If you went downtown, it would have been vibrant. There would have been hotels, the railroad depot would have been there, restaurants, everybody would have been horse and wagon, dirt roads, so muddy in the rainy days, slushy in the snow days. The lake was an entertainment place. The road on the north side of the house wouldn't have been there. They had lakeshore property, so there was boating and swimming and picnics. It was, and they didn't travel far, they would have stayed around this area to do all those activities. This house was a very nice house for the time. It's made of brick. It's a Queen Anne Victorian. We did try to put it on the National Historic Register in 1985. It was rejected. However, we are going to try again. We feel that this story does have significance to the history of the county, the state, the United States. One of the key parts is the neighborhood. He developed the whole neighborhood. That's why it's called Sperryville. He owned all this land and they sold it off in lots, and he named all the streets, so he was always looking for ways to do things and expand things in the town of Willmar. And some of the newspaper accounts, you see how they word it like the grand house on Foot Lake that the Sperrys moved into, and if you drive around, you can tell that it would have been a beautiful house for that time. The windows in the house are the style too. A lot of the Victorian homes, they're from like 1890 to 1910, 1920. And if you look at all those kind of style houses, they all have big windows. And like the big one in the front and on the dining room, you can't open, it's just be the side ones. And I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, but it's the style of the house, and then I'm guessing that's so that the crosswind. There are pocket doors here too, and I suspect those are to keep the cool and the heat into, like you could close off sections of the house because they wouldn't have had air conditioning, obviously. Some of the things that we point out about the structure of the house is all the woodwork is original. All the stained glass windows are original from when the house was built. It has a complete brick exterior. The staircase in the entryway is all machine carved. Even in 1893, it's not hand carved, it was carved by machine. The floor in the entryway is two-toned. It has a dark wood and a light wood. That's the only place in the house that has the wood like that. The Victorians, during that time, you come into the entryway because all their guests would have came through the front door. They wanted to come through the back door. And you wanted to, this is our house, it's so grand. So it has a beautiful staircase, the beautiful floor, and the kitchen has bare minimum floors, just woods, not even stained or tarnished, but that's where all the work would have been done, so they wouldn't have done anything fancy in there. The house was built with a bathroom, but it didn't work right away, so they would have had an outhouse. Electricity came in 1903, so they lived 10 years without electricity, so it would have been kerosene lamps and fireplace and stoves for heat, and they would have had windows open for the summer. And then in 1901, they got telephones. You know, it wasn't shortly after they moved in here that this stuff came, but when they first lived here, it would have been somewhat primitive, and it was a farm too, a working farm. There are a few things that belong to the Sperry's. The dishes in the dining room in the hutch, on the very bottom 2 shelves, did belong to the Sperry's, and those were Mrs. Sperry's dishes. The bedroom set in the bedroom did belong to them too. It's a bed, a dresser, and a vanity. And then with Jenny, she was very active too. She was involved with some ladies' organizations, so she was with Willmar for a very long time and always very active with her church. She did a lot of cooking, but before she married Albert, she was a teacher, so she taught in a lot of school districts in Kandiyohi County, and a lot of her students and families would still come visit her even after she wasn't teaching, so you know that she made that impact. Their family kept this house in the family until 1970 when it was given to us when Brian died, and they knew they wanted it to be a testament to not just their family, but the families that came before. Brian was on our board and helped get the Historical Society where it is today, and they've always been involved with the Old Settlers Association or the Historical Society, their whole family, so they know where they come from and where their sense of place is, and they wanted to share that with them. Well, the Sperry House represents like a historic landmark in Willmar. It's a place that everybody's been to or remembers going to, or remembers growing up around, or when people live there, or they live there themselves. I think it touches most people's lives when they're from this area. I hope it to be a place where people can come and learn about the Sperrys, but also learn about the past, and not necessarily the 1890 past. You know, I hope we can tell the story of the whole house. People lived in the house until 2016, and they have a story to tell too. And then I would love to see it open so more people can see it and come and learn about it. But I'd also like to see where community people use it, like come and use it for, you know, a gathering or a book study, or, you know, that kind of thing, just so that it keeps being used, and so that the whole community can enjoy it.
Visit pioneer.org/postcards to catch up on missed episodes and to find out more about your favorite segments.
This is our first After Dark, After Hours exhibit at the Arboretum, so people were very interested in seeing, you know, what is the light like? What are these beautiful light installations like in the middle of gardens? I think people really love light, and I think in Minnesota, especially during the winter, you don't have much light. And so we crave that light. Bruce Monroe is a British large-scale light artist. This is his 12th exhibit in the world, and it is his 5th exhibit in the United States. While he has many pieces as part of his exhibitions, they are entirely customized and made fresh for every new exhibition that he does. The Arboretum is, we are part of the University of Minnesota. This is a 1,200 acre property. And not only are we famous for our beautiful gardens, but we have the premier commercial apple breeding research facility in the world here. I really love Aurum, which is the largest exhibit here, and it has 92,000 parts in it. Water Towers is right next to Aurum, and it is a set of 28 different towers. And in the towers, each of the towers is made up of 252 plastic bottles with LED running through them. The Good Seed was inspired by a Chronicles of Narnia story. In one part of the story, there was a Victorian lamppost that was out in the middle of a forest, in a snowy forest. And Bruce's thought was, what would happen if you had something like that and it erupted like a flower? The Good Seed has 19 different arms on it, and it will remain here at the Arboretum for 2 years. Minnesota Gathering is a really unique piece here. When Bruce was here to visit, Bruce thought of when he lived in Australia, and all of these cockatoos and Gaytee birds, who are very, very loud, would always come and sit on everyone's, wash lines that were in their backyard and in their trees. And he said, I want to put all of these Australian birds on these lawns. So that is a pretty wild display, and kids are either love it or they're terrified. Well, I think that one of the reasons it is special to have Bruce Monroe at the Arboretum and in the Midwest is that this is the perfect intersection with art and nature with art.
Wake up, wake say it isn't so, even though I've got plans of my own. Living in a lullaby wakes you up and makes you cry. All the things that I can do, I can't stop from wanting you. Someday, someway, I'm gonna try and get you back. Well, I'll be calm, I'll be brave.
Are you a fan of postcards? Follow us on your favorite social media platform to get the latest news on upcoming episodes, behind the scenes, and more. This program on Pioneer Public Television is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008. Additional support provided by Mark and Margaret Yakel-Julien in honor of Shalom Hill Farm, a nonprofit rural education retreat center in a beautiful prairie setting near Windham in southwestern Minnesota. ShalomHillFarm.org. Live Wide Open, a regional movement that encourages people to make a great life for themselves in west central Minnesota. More at livewideopen.com. Alexandria, Minnesota, a year-round destination with hundreds of lakes, trails, and attractions for memorable vacations and events. More information at explorealex.com.